Thank you.
Oh, welcome. Have the French returned today?
They went yesterday.
Yesterday, Sunday.
Yeah, they had enough of us.
Yeah, well, I didn't like to say it, but we've some friends, they forgot to tell us they were coming, you know. So it was a frantic phone call on Saturday. What are you doing this afternoon? Flavie, what are you doing? You should be on first. No, I'm in Market Square in Sandwich.
Okay, we're off. Thanks for
All right.
Good evening, members. Welcome to this quarterly meeting of the full council on Monday the 18th of May. Before we get into the business, I'd like to invite our chaplain, Father Sebastian, to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Lord, the God of righteousness and truth, grant to our King and his government, to Sandwich Town Council, to all organisations that we represent and all in positions of responsibility, the guidance of your Spirit. May they never lead the nation wrongly through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but laying aside all private interests and prejudices, keep in mind their responsibility to seek to improve the condition of all mankind. So may your kingdom come and your name be hallowed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, so agenda item 1, Chair's opening remarks. I've just got three items I just would like to go through. Can I first of all thank those councillors who were able to attend yesterday's annual civic service. I'd also like to thank Father Sebastian for leading us through the service, welcoming us, but also, most importantly, for delivering such an apposite sermon. It certainly resonated with some of us, so thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Councillor Wiles for organising the litter pick that was held on Saturday 9th of May. Another very good turnout, and this time with a Rotary Club joining us. And then finally, a bit more substantial, the DDC Community Governance Review consultation has completed its first stage, and the responses received are being considered by the DDC Electoral Matters Committee and the Council. And the recommendation for Sandwich is that we retain the same number of councillors as we currently have for both the North and South wards, so that's 8 for each ward. However, there's a second stage of consultation. And that starts today. And so the recommendations from the first stage will be reviewed in the second stage. It's a public consultation, but I've looked at the questions today on the consultation itself, and to say they're slim is an understatement. There's just one question in effect: do you support the recommendation? So what I will ask is, and it has to be done by the town clerk, I'd like to ask the town clerk to submit a response that mirrors the decision we've already taken, which is to preserve the 16 councillors, and she will do that on behalf of the Sandwich Town Council. But individual councillors can do it themselves, either in the guise of a resident or in the guise of a councillor. It does give that option on the actual form itself. Okay, thank you very much. Town Clerk, do we have any apologies for absences?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Breen, Councillor Gray, personal commitments. Councillor Pennington said he may be late.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. Do we have any tonight from anybody? No, thank you very much. Agenda item 4, we've been asked to review minutes of 2 meetings. So first of all, we've got the minutes for the STC Extraordinary General Meeting that was held on the 20th of April 2026, to consider any matters arising from that. So could I ask whether anybody's got any comments on those minutes, and if not, somebody's happy to propose them.
Happy to recommend the minutes.
So we've got Councillor Moorhouse has proposed and Councillor Carter has seconded. To vote on those
Can I
minutes.
just say something?
Yes, of course.
I seem to have received, and maybe not all councillors have, an
Sorry,
email.
Councillor
from-
Anderson, you need to stand when you speak. That's all Councillor Mead now.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I received, maybe not all councillors have had a chance to look at it, I think sometime late this afternoon, an email from Councillor Pennington about a condition attached to one of the grants that we've decided about. And I just wondered whether we can somehow note that comment or discuss it, because he seems to think that we did make a decision in favour of what he was arguing. So I'm just, given
So-
that he's going to be
Yeah.
late, trying to present this.
I mean, it's a fair point to raise. The issue would be that Councillor Pennington is not in the room. I don't know, I've read it as well, the email. I can't understand, if I'm honest, the substance of what he's presenting. So my personal view is that we shouldn't discuss it with him not here. He has emailed the Town Clerk, and I think he will need to look at that and see if there's any issues there.
Yes, I will have to review the OWL, actually the OWL notes, because it was
In
in
confidence.
confidence.
Yeah.
We don't have a recording of that
Yeah.
meeting, so it's.
Okay.
But Councillor Anderson, from my perspective, I've read the email, and I
think
don't
I know
really.
what it's about,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, I think it needs a bit more investigation, and
okay.
if it needs to come to the next full STC, we'll need to do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. But thank you. So can we vote on that? We've had a proposal and seconder.
One abstention.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Everybody else has voted in favour. Okay, so attachment 4B are the minutes of the meeting of the full council held on Monday the 27th of April. Again, to consider any matters arising from those minutes. Has anybody any comments? Councillor Moorhouse.
Apologies, I should have mentioned this in the last iPad 4A. With regard to grant application 3, I've been advised, informed of very sad news that Glynn Davis, the architect, has sadly passed away.
Oh dear. Okay, thank you for letting us know that. Thank you.
Recommend the minutes as stated.
Accept so that's Councillor Peter has proposed. Somebody have to second? Councillor Franklin? Have to vote on those. Thank you very much, that's unanimous. Thank you. So then we have the action log. Let's move on to that. So I don't propose going through all of them, but anybody that wants to flag any up, please do so. I have one that I was going to comment on, but there are some before then, including one that's with Councillor Moorhouse. I don't know if you have any comments on any at all yourself. No, actually, there's none that you own. You look at me as if you want to say something.
I'm ready.
You're ready? Go
Yeah.
then, stand up, that'll be fine.
So this is with respect to an action log that's been there. I found out to my horror more than a year since I first raised the issue of the Keep Clear signs in Moatsol
Yes.
allow disabled access into the co-op. And it's regrettable that the KCC councillor isn't here today,
No.
because I've been advised that this is the responsibility of Kent County Council. but very kindly the parking service manager has raised a request on the KCC online portal, and the job reference is 908644. So I'm continuing to pursue that. Hopefully by Christmas we'll have a result.
So that doesn't link to any direct action that's listed, is that correct? I'm looking through the
That
actions
was
in
a
front of
direct action of mine last month.
last month. Okay. Could you, it's not listed, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check why it's not listed, yes. Councillor Carter.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an update on my one to do with the damaged road signs. Bigger job than I thought it was originally. I've still got the bypass to do, so could it be carried forward to the next meeting, please?
That's fine, we'll refer that on to the next meeting. So I will just give an update on action 42612, and that related to the intention to negotiate around a sandwich agreement with DDC. So I did write to David Parish to advise that we had agreed to proceed or to enter into negotiations, and I've asked for him to provide a proposal on how we might do this, and with a supporting timetable to be included. He responded to me, today's only Monday, so last Friday I believe, saying that he needs to discuss it with his team and he will come back with a response, but he's going on holiday, so we need to wait a little while. We can expect a response from him in June. Okay? So that's the update. Is that Councillor Franklin?
Just number 3, says there I'm going to have a word with the clerk about a
Yes.
financial
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall I close that one, Councillor Franklin?
I think we'll read
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'd like to propose that we receive that report on actions. Everybody happy to second that? Councillor Marie, thank you very much. We vote on that. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Oh, did I not need to sign these minutes?
Oh, yes.
Shock horror.
Sorry.
I just saw them sitting there, I thought, I haven't signed them.
Got you.
It's only weekend.
Yes.
You can't get the mayor's now.
No, you
You
can't.
can't get the mayor's.
I need to be
Come on,
late.
Jeff.
I need to be late.
This is a real coffee, isn't it?
It's quite a good.
Finance, let me get there.
Yeah.
On that.
Finances and. Mouse.
Yeah.
Definitely doing that with Junior.
We did get given things in iPads, didn't we?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 5, that's financial information. So the first is just to note that the budget variance reports and commentary for the year to the 31st of March 26 are not available until after the Finance and General Purpose Committee on the 27th of May, and that's due to a change in timing of the finance meeting, so we'll receive that at the next meeting. Okay. I'd like to propose we note that.
I'll second that.
Second that. And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. And then we're looking for nominations of 2 signatories. So the first is to authorise mid-June payment schedule on Bankline. Are there any authorised individuals who are happy to put their names forward to do that? Councillor Wiles and Councillor Franklin. And the second one is Council to confirm nomination of 2 signatories to authorise end of June payment schedules on Bankline, and if only to share the burden, I'll take that myself, and I need a second person. And Councillor Franklin again. Can somebody happy to propose that?
I'll propose it.
Councillor Black and Councillor Peter seconded, if we vote on that. Thank you very much. So at this point we will disrobe.
All rise.
does, definitely. And the shouting. Yes.
Very efficient, your road. Well, I was going to say something, you probably didn't call me, I pushed out with the electric cloth there recovering. I pushed that back to you, see what you're doing. It's like a dash station.
Yes.
Yes, some people got them and put their code on the first hanger instead of putting it at the back one.
Which of course in those days,
It was about the things where.
for a skill. I'm surprised that you didn't have to buy a port for the next meeting.
You're waiting for Mark. Take a seat.
Right, let's take our jackets off.
Yes. Guilds, yeah.
You are
Livery, that's right, livery company.
Well, much richer,
Yes.
and well, still are.
Oh, yeah, you certainly are.
They had halls. and they
Yes.
had dinner.
Yes, I've been to the couplers and the barber surgeons.
Yes.
Yes.
Tonight when I come in, that's
Well, I've been to
36 years ago I was come to this place.
Years before.
Mm. Yeah, oh
It's an
yeah.
hour ago, wasn't it?
Some of it, most places have a place.
What's your old place? Well, my friend was boxman for Aberdeen Incorporated Trades. I think they spent lavishly on.
All right.
Have a week off now.
Okay, please sit, members. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 6, public participation, 20-minute session put aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting. Do we have any requests tonight? Okay, so agenda item 7, verbal report from our Dover District Councillors on matters relating to Sandwich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And you'll be thrilled, overjoyed, delighted that
I'm sure
it's a page and a half long this time. So, firstly, with respect to the meeting with the Development and Planning Manager at DDC on the status of 57 New Street that I attended on Monday the 26th of January with the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor and Councillors Franklin and Ripley, I've yet again asked for the officers to provide an update on historic England's Heritage at Risk Register, as this might present opportunities that possibly could go towards a course of action on the property. I'm still waiting. After 4 weeks? Yeah, 4 weeks.
4 months. January.
Well, yeah, but
Oh, you mean
four
since you've got-
weeks
yeah,
and I
sorry.
updated. Secondly, I'm still receiving complaints from a number of residents in Hazelwood Meadow, and whilst I very much appreciate the courtesy of the DDC Parking Services Manager who's responding to me, it's disappointing that 3 key elected representatives appear to be burying their heads in the sand. And that is our constituency MP, our Kent County Councillor, and the leader of Dover District Council. It's a far cry from 2013 when parking issues in both the Burnham Avenue and Hazelwood Meadow that are raised as a Sandwich Town Council could at least facilitate a site visit from Laura Sands MP as our incumbent Member of Parliament. Our current MP seems more interested in photo opportunities than he is in acknowledging concerns raised by his constituents. And I refer to the resident whose name I won't publish. I attended the annual general meeting at the Dover District Council on Wednesday the 13th of May. Councillor Sue Beer has been re-elected as Chairman of Dover District Council. There are no changes to the cabinet portfolio positions with the controlling Labour administration. However, on the opposition side, Councillor Chris Vinson is now shadow leader, with Councillor Oliver Richardson as shadow deputy leader, with former shadow leader Councillor Trevor Bartlett taking over from Councillor Richardson as shadow portfolio holder for community and corporate property. The composition of Dover District Council remains as it was 12 months ago, and that is with the Labour group having 12 councillors, the party formerly known as the Conservative Party having 14 councillors, the Independent group having 4 councillors, and 2 aligned independents, 2 councillors. And I remain the only democratically elected Dover District Councillor as an independent, as the other non-aligned member was elected as a representative for the Labour Party in Aylsham, but left after becoming disillusioned with the administration. We all know how we feel about political parties in this chamber. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your kind words at the mayor-making ceremony last week. I've always been conscious of the support given to me by a majority of councillors in this chamber in my campaign to become a Dover District Councillor in 2023. The words that I uttered when we gathered to celebrate our success at Sandwich Matters on Friday the 5th of May 2023, as I pledged to work with Sandwich Town Council, have never strayed from my conscience. So your speech suggests that I've honoured that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, could we thank the very excellent representation we've had at Dover this year.
I think we should note it, so starting another year, that could be noted. Thank you. Councillor Fortescue. Councillor Marie?
Yep, I just had one question for Councillor Moorhouse. Can myself and you have a meeting regarding parking problems within the town, especially motorbikes parking on the town square? I know we've had a discussion, Mr. Mayor, about it, but I want to see if at the district level we can speak to parking services and see if they can help in stopping it.
That's an invitation. I'm quite happy to pay for the coffee, so I look forward to meeting Councillor Marie at some point. Just name a date.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to. Sorry.
Just to say, Councillor Maddox and I went to the White Cliffs Tourist Organisation a few weeks ago to discuss the brochure that we'll be talking about tonight. They were very receptive to it. They made a couple of suggestions about the editing and so on.
Sorry, I think, are you jumping in as
Sorry.
a town
Jumping
councillor?
in,
My
yes.
apologies, too early.
That's all right.
I've said my piece, I'll sit down and shut up. My apologies.
You'll be invited to say it again, don't worry.
Yeah, you don't want to hear me twice, do you? Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item 8, verbal report from our Kent County Councillor. On the basis he's not in the room, I'm not expecting a verbal report. And we haven't received a written report. Did we receive apologies?
No.
Mr. Mayor, I think at the last meeting he did say we have actually 3 months.
He did. Very, yes.
Yeah.
Thank
So we
you.
have received apologies.
Yes, we have received.
However, sorry, Mr. Mayor, however, if that's the case, if he's off for 3 months, may I suggest that KCC, someone at KCC, or even if they watch the videos, something they can still give reports in once a month. It's a duty for the KCC Council, regardless if they're
think we should. I think we should write to Kent County Council to see how the sandwich is being covered.
Okay.
My understanding when he was here last time was that he was suggesting he would be out of action for about 3 months towards the end of the year. So unless that's been brought forward.
Yeah.
But we
Thank
need
you.
to establish
I think we need to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Next one, agenda item 9, that's the report from local police representative Sandwich. I know our police officer isn't here this evening, however the report that we've got here we've already received and it has been circulated on social media and also on the STC Facebook page, hasn't it? So I think it's had a good circulation. Councillor Carter.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it worries me a little bit about the road traffic accidents and the speeds, and I was going to ask if we're any closer to getting our own Speedwatch up and running. It says in this report 2 things: the historic wall on Bartlemus, number 7 Dover Road, got struck. I don't know if anybody's seen that at all, but it's quite. You know, I mean, that's a very strong wall, so that car must have been going at very, very high speed to cause that damage. And then, of course, later in this report, Woodensborough Road, it says they caught the car doing the high speed, 43 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. We can't really let this continue. Is there any notice on Speedwatch?
So in regards to Speedwatch, we have tried a couple of times now to secure recruits. The last attempt was through the STC magazine, not the current one, but the previous one. There has only been 1 name volunteering. We have not got a viable Speedwatch operation at the moment. Any councillors in here who might want to join into it, please do, but you need half a dozen willing individuals available at the times that you want to do it to make it sustainable. So at the moment, it's not feasible. We can run it again in the next magazine, but you know, as I say, the response was 1 person.
I'm happy to volunteer, but obviously weekends only. If we could just do it weekends.
And that's when we get into the issues.
So this has been a topic on the town team for many years regarding Speedwatch, as we all know. There are high stringent rules and regulations on where you stand, how you stand, what your high-vis jackets. You have to have deep training with Kent Police. It is quite tough, and we have been fighting for years. We just have to continue to fight.
Yeah, and as I understand in the town, there are only 2 places that we are allowed to do it. So it isn't a silver bullet, as some people think, and it needs resource.
Yeah, thank you. Quite a few months ago now, I was walking up Dover Road, just before St Park, on that road goes to the right, and noticed there's the poplar trees, one of the poplar trees was damaged. I looked down into the Dell stream, and the car, must have come from Dover Way, was shot down the bank, and the breakdown driver, he dragged the car up, he left the front suspension and the wheel behind, so I don't know whose responsibility it is. But how could you take a car on the back of your truck with 3 wheels? That must have been nice, I don't know, it's very weird to me. So speeding has been a problem.
Yes, and then going back to St Bart's and the collision there, that was in the early hours, so I don't think Speedwatch would have helped, but I do believe the police have dealt with it appropriately. I understand. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item 10, updates from councillors. I'd like to invite Councillor Black in case he has anything else to say.
You really want to repeat the moment?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Councillor Mans and I went to see the White Cliffs Tourist Organisation a few weeks ago to discuss the brochure. They were very enthusiastic about the idea. They pointed out some typos and some other things. I believe they've now spoken to the town clerk with some things which they haven't actually shared with us, which we're about to hear more about later on. But they certainly endorsed the idea, but were saying, look, we do have a very good website with White Cliffs, and let's try to maximise the use of that where it's appropriate.
Thank you. Any other updates from councillors? Councillor Moorhouse?
Yeah, just a quick thank you to thank yourself and the Lady Mayoress for attending the function with the Honflow visit on Friday.
It was a pleasure. albeit a rock and roll evening.
Yes, very glad for Councillor Moorhouse in his rock and roll shirt. And
Yes,
suit.
yes, very, very good.
Elvis lives.
There is lots of photos online.
Any other comments? I've got a few things.
Oh, I was just say, I did go up to the White Mill last weekend, because it was
Yes.
the White Mills weekend, and they're doing very well up there. So, and because I also go monthly with the sandwich Facebook group, you know, Nostalgic Sandwich. So, I mean, the amount of work they're doing, them volunteers, if we had to pay for it, well, we just wouldn't be able to afford it.
No.
They'd have to save this town council millions of pounds in the which is.
And did you enjoy the cake?
I did.
I've got quite a few photographs on Facebook. Specifically about.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Councillor Moorhouse, second bite at the chair.
Yeah, sorry. I was invited by Councillor Sarah Green of Moorhouse Council to attend, and I did attend this. It was on Friday the 8th of May at the Landmark Centre. And it was to watch a video presented by the environmental concerns, to watch the East Kent Climate Action Group. And this was a video which I will share. It's the National Emergency Briefing, and I do recommend it. There's one issue in it that I'm not particularly on board with, and that's the subject of electric cars, because I'm not convinced that's the solution to the problem. But most of the rest of it, and how the global emergency is affecting the world economy, our own standards of living, and our own health, because one of the most graphic things on this was if the Gulf Stream changes, then we will not be able to grow crops in this country. So I do recommend, I will forward the link and you can watch it at your leisure.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray?
Yeah, Mark as well. Mr. Mayor, as you know, we celebrated the 800th celebration anniversary of the 800th Mayor of Sandwich. On the Saturday, the biggest event was the parade. Absolutely fantastic parade. The weather was lovely. Over 400 people was in that parade over that day, and it worked and it went down to the hour, it went down to the minute regarding the turning circles and stuff. It's really good. I know the Lord Warden had a fantastic time. I had a chat with him at the reception after. He loves Sandwich. He loves helping to promote Sandwich as well as Lord Warden. We had a large contingent from Brighton, the furthest away. They thoroughly enjoyed it. He had some of the barons were looked after by Councillor Franklin, the Baron of Sandwich. They thoroughly enjoyed it as well. I'd just like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being the 800th Mayor of Sandwich at the time.
The Mayor in the 800th year.
Yeah. Yes, it was very good and it was much appreciated. A lot of good comments. It's good to see the community getting involved and rallying together. There's a lot of community groups that were involved in that, and they always said it was a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. I've got 3 updates, and you've taken 50% of
Sorry,
one of mine. Very successful annual town meeting on Wednesday, the 29th of April. Thank you to those councillors who attended and took the opportunity to engage with residents. I think on the number of questions that we got from the floor, I think it gave a good indication that this council is now stable and is engaging with residents. I thought it was a very positive evening, so thank you for those who were able to attend. Back to the 800 years of the mayors, I just wanted to give special thanks once again to Councillors Mallet, Franklin and Marie, also the town clerk and the staff who did run ragged over the weekend, so that was really helpful. And also Farmer Sebastian and Dave Batchelor, who was involved in our working group or planning group for the event. I think it was all worthwhile because we met every Tuesday evening from November through to May, and that was a bit of a commitment, so thank you for doing all of that, the 3 of you. It was much appreciated. And then finally, I was asked to formally open the new kitchen and toilet facilities. I've reached the pinnacle as the mayor. I opened some toilets at St Mark's Chapel on Sunday the 10th of May. Councillor Franklin was there, not in the toilets, but he was there.
There's cakes, there's Jeff.
Things I do for sandwich.
But the key point I was going to make, I was particularly impressed with the sympathetic manner in which the works being completed, and it really does blend in really well. So I think we all had certain cautions around it when it came to planning in its original stage, but you know, the end result is very good, in my opinion. Okay, thank you very much.
They found a few bones, didn't they? So. Yeah.
Did they? I didn't know that. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 11, which is the ACV for the King's Arms. I was going to ask Councillor Carter maybe to talk to this report. Would you like to?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Thank you very much. Thank you. So at our previous meeting, I was asked to look into undertaking an AVC on the King's Arms. As well as presenting the normal report that councillors are expected to submit, my enthusiasm got ahead of me, and I drafted a PowerPoint presentation, which Councillor Cllr said, that's very nice, but we really need the application doing, please, Councillor Carter, so undertook that as well. But the PowerPoint presentation, I drew together all the information that I think the councillors need to understand the current situation. Basically that it is a very old historic building dating from 1490, changed names a couple of times, Queen's Arms, King's Arms, etc. Originally owned by the East Kent Brewery, which was very well known in the town, was a historic brewer in the town. Unfortunately, over the years, it got sold to a company called Punch Pubs and Company, who Punch Pubs, unfortunately, are owned by like a hedge fund organisation that's based in Luxembourg. So, unfortunately, the King's Arms is just a fatality of it's not making money, so we don't want it anymore. Process. So unfortunately it's on the market, as we say there. So I detailed what an ACV actually is, Asset of Community Value, and that came about through the Localism Act of 2011. It's got to have a requirement of actual current use or past recent use of social well-being is the most important thing, I think, is the phrase social well-being as well as social interest there. I then went on to direct you towards what the nomination process is for an ACV, so who can nominate an ACV site, and where we go from there. And basically, in a nutshell, there's 3 stages to navigate. First stage is the nomination, which, as I said, I have undertaken on Councillor Cllr's instruction, and that is at the end of this presentation here. Currently, Dover District Council have verified that they've received the nomination, and the next process, stage 3, is the assessment of the nomination, but that can take up to 8 weeks for them to assess it. So we've got about another 7 weeks to go, and I've checked my emails almost daily to see what's in there, and I haven't heard back from that. As I say, just at the very end of my report there, I put in there currently 19 successful ACVs recorded on the DDC site, 17 that have been unsuccessful. Of the 19 that are successful, 8 are public houses, but usually these public houses that have been successful have been where it's been the only public house in that area. So for instance, there's one in a small village called Coldred, a public house there, one down in Lyddon, and it's where it is the last public community house or whatever that's available there. So seeing as King's Arms is one of several public houses in Sandwich, might not be that helpful, but we'll see, keep our fingers crossed like that. And then I got an email from, I don't know if everybody saw it, from the Dover District Councillor, who raised a large number of questions which I answered on behalf of the Town Clerk, but he was still persistent. So I met with the Dover District Councillor, and we went through things. He thought it was a bit of a waste of time putting the ACV in, and he said that we're best relying on Section 4 of the Planning Act and the fact that it is a historic building in the conservation area. So, but he said he was very, how can I put the words, very worried that although the town council has put this ACV in, we haven't identified a group or the town council as being ones that would possibly make a purchase of the property at any point in time. So he seemed to think I was wasting time really a bit from putting it in, but there you go. We need to do our duty, and I think we've done that.
Yeah,
so
we're all entitled to our own opinions. Aren't we?
exactly. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, Councillor Moorhouse.
Yes, it's very true that King's Arms is a significant historical value. That alone is one of the criteria. But the reference to it's one of several pubs in Sandwich. If you think about it, it's the most complete pub in Sandwich in terms of facilities. It has a garden, it has a car park, it has a courtyard, it has a restaurant, it has accommodation, it has a bar, as you would expect in a pub. It has a function room, and it has a meeting room. There is no other pub in the town that fulfills all of those 8 criteria.
Parking.
And for that, and parking. I think I mentioned parking.
You did, yeah.
Sleeping accommodation.
Sleeping accommodation, I mentioned that.
Did you?
So,
I was asleep.
it's
Sorry.
the only pub that fulfills ticks all those boxes.
Yeah.
So it's unique in itself, and I think for that reason itself, it should be classified as an asset of community value, because it would be very, very difficult to replace it were it to go.
Exactly.
Thank you. Any other comments? Because originally it was that it was recommending a nomination, but that has been made, so it will be to note this report. But Councillor Black.
I'm a bit concerned about the suggestion that the Toll Bridge Fund should stump up for this. Already this council is in hock for 2 huge loans.
Yeah.
Certainly the Toll Bridge Fund, we are trying to protect the investments there, and to spend 600,000 plus on a place, pubs don't have very good returns. That's sort of a fact of life. And we look at what happened in the Checkers in Ash. They've struggled and struggled and struggled. They've gone through many crises, and they have virtually no competition apart from the volunteer. This has many competitors. It's remote from the South Ward. I think if Punch is struggling, unless you brought in somebody like Wetherspoons, I think you would struggle to make a business of it. And again, Wetherspoons is a bit like Marmite, isn't it? Some people think they're great and some people think they're poor. But for us to contemplate another loan, I think would stretch our finances to breaking point.
Noted, but obviously the report doesn't make any proposals around funding of any bids, but, well, it just indicates, but yeah, I think it's a very valid point. Yeah. Councillor Wallace.
I don't know if this is relevant to the application, but the King's Arms complements St Mary's Arts Centre. The two
Yes.
go hand in hand, and if the King's Arms closes, I think it would have a detrimental impact upon St Mary's, because people often drink there, they leave events and go to the pub, and from the pub to the arts centre. So they.
I did put that in my nomination
I do
to
apologise.
DDC. Sorry, but thank you for the.
I think it's very difficult because a lot of pubs in Sandwich are struggling. And if the council was to take a pub on, I don't think that'd be in the community's interest. I mean, I'm not saying how long ago I started drinking in Sandwich, but I know at least 8 pubs that have shut since I started drinking. And a lot of them are struggling today. And we know that we're waiting for the Aberlour to reopen, aren't we?
Yes.
And I thought that was going to open at Easter. So I think, I don't think we can have it as I don't know, it's a lovely thought, it's a lovely building, I love that old building, it's got a lovely, we've had bands in there, you know, during the August festivals, you know, in the garden, it's absolutely beautiful. But I don't think we can go in competition with the pubs that are businesses already struggling in the town.
So I think that, yeah, I think 2 councillors have made that point, so thank you very much. So I think we just need to note the report as an application has already been submitted, and we just need to wait to see the reaction we get from Derby District Council for this. So I'd like to propose we note.
Note only.
Note only. Note only.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
No, mine.
Got a second? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 12, I'll just give a very brief summary of this rather than go through it in detail. So, this concerns the two doctors' parking bays on Harnet Street, outside or along from the old butchery medical practice. Although the practice has been closed for several years, and signage has been removed, the bays are still legally designated as, good evening.
On the next meeting.
Yeah, so they're still legally designated as doctors' bays within the current traffic regulation order that exists. In practice, this means the spaces are now effectively unrestricted, despite road markings remaining in place. I was made aware that, well, obviously, just walking past there, that the no changes has happened, even though we've discussed it in council meetings in the past, as far back, I think, as 3 years. But I therefore decided to contact the Dover District Council parking manager, who's recently been recruited, and it's confirmed that the previous request to address this through a planned TRO had not been actioned, but they are now able to do this later this year. What that then led on to, because it was an exchange of emails, was I was asked whether I had a preferred option for the future designation of the spaces. That I thought that wasn't appropriate, so what I did was, using the three options that were made available, I said to the parking manager that I would take it to the council, which I'm doing tonight, and I've also, in the intervening period, visited the nearby residents who face onto the parking area, and also the businesses that all face onto there, to glean their view on what they would see as suitable in terms of any new parking arrangements. So general agreement I got was that it was accepted that the current situation needs regularising, with the most majority of feedback favouring matching the existing restrictions in the area. But what was asked was whether a request for the holders of a J parking permit to park there on an unrestricted basis could be added to the order. So at the moment on Harnet Street, elsewhere there are parking restrictions for the hour parking, but also include the J parking permit as a dispensation. The other matter that was flagged up was that the parking bay nearest to Cllr Market extends so much that if a large vehicle is parked on there, it makes it very difficult for any vehicle coming off of Cllr Market down the butchery to get past. So I was going to flag that up in any response that's given. So that's where it is at the moment. This was really about engaging with the parking manager just to see if anything was happening, to find out nothing was happening, and he is now able and willing to include it. So I'll open up for any questions. Councillor Marie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's sorry. I hate to correct you, but it's Market Street into the butchery into Harnet Street.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, what I find astonishing is that the Townscape Heritage Committee, since we've been on it, since this administration started, we've been fighting to get this changed since then. Yeah. Also, what annoys me the most is DDC. How could it slip through the tracks for a TRO to be regulated? It takes a year to do. I used to do them at Thanet. So it's just a mind blowing that the DDC has failed again to do something that the town have asked them to do. Yeah. My preference would be what you just said, which would be option C, which it will run and coincide with the other three bays that are around the area and with the J parking permit. However, it would be a good idea if we just send to DDC is to remove one of the bays, so it's only one parking bay there, so it's ease of access for in and out, for people to get in and out.
I'll ask you to consider that. And the point then, so what happened was, in terms of I understand previously two parking managers who both left, I think both resigned, and basically this request went into a dark hole as a result. The new parking manager did some checking back for me and he said, it's not been done, but I can do it. Thank you.
I'm very pleased that some progress may be made, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for taking this forward, because this is an issue which first came up at the Disability Access Working Group, and then Heritage and Townscape, both of which I chaired for a while. And I was very keen that those two spaces be freed up and, no longer say doctors only, and be available to local residents. Because if the ramp were ever to become a reality from the Key Path through Ainsley Court and out at the other end, in order to make it's either Love Lane or St Peter Street, I get them muddled, but I think it's Love Lane. In order to make Love Lane accessible by somebody on a mobility scooter, for example, it would be much easier if 2 parking spaces were lost in Strand Street. And it seemed to me at the time, when I was chairing those committees, that the only way that one could square that with the local residents, if the proposal would be that they lose 2 spaces, is that they get compensated with 2 spaces freed up because it no longer says doctors only. So I would be very keen to see option C and include the facility for residents with a J permission to park there, but I would also try to persuade you that the 2 spaces should be available rather than 1.
Yeah. So I'll just respond to that. I will just flag it up as an issue, and I can see it's an issue. Photograph is in there. There is an issue about a vehicle in the nearest space coming off of the butchery. So that's their decision ultimately. It's just to flag it up as an issue.
Yes, thank you, Mr. I agree with Councillor Murray. I think before because there was a pub down there that one of my pubs that I lost. 2 brewers, careless, one of my favourite, so in there or not. Anyway, I think before it was just one large bay.
Oh.
Like for.
Okay.
But when the doctors moved in there, they wanted 2 cars, so they made 2 spaces. And I agree with you, but that one goes too far back to the other vehicle. So I think a bay or slightly larger, 1 bay, and I think talk about disabled access. If they get off the quay up there steps, you get a ramp into Ainsley Court. If they go straight across Ainsley Court past the old hairdressers there, the old car park, there is a slope that they go straight up Love Lane. There's no need to go around that. There's no need to lose any of the spaces.
I think in terms of the 2 spaces, it might just be about they may be larger than they need to be. So 2 spaces might still be possible. Yeah. There will be certain regulations.
So just quickly, I obviously I live around that area, Ainsley Courtway, by the quayside, and I walk that daily when I walk into town. Losing 2 spaces in that area, we're not talking about that anyway. We're talking about the 2 spaces being the butchery.
Yeah.
If we lose the 2 spaces in there, the parking is scarce enough as it is in the town. So losing 2 spaces is just
it's noted.
Yeah.
So if
Freeze your corner.
if we're okay in terms of report, if we can go to the recommendations. So the first is to note the reports.
Yeah.
I'm happy to propose that we note it. Maria's second. You okay? That's unanimous. Second is to agree preferred option. I'd like to propose that we first proposal is option C and see if that passes. Somebody have to say that. Councillor Carter has seconded that. So we vote on C with the addition of the J parking permits.
The addition.
It's very
Included.
That's
Yes.
very
Yeah.
important.
Thank you very much. Okay. And then finally, really this is to know, but I'm asking your permission to raise the issue of proximity of parking spaces to vehicles travelling from Cllr Mark onto Harnet Street, and the difficulty that this can cause to vehicles passing the spaces. Sorry.
I hadn't realised we actually would vote on that element. I park there frequently.
Yes.
I drive through with a large car and a trailer.
Yep.
I've never had a problem with 2 cars being there.
Right.
So I think having 2 cars there is realistic.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
So the point is that 2 of the residents separately raised it as an issue for me, saying that actually it does block the road. it will be Dover District Council's assessment of whether it does or doesn't. It's not for us, it's just to flag it up as an issue.
Yeah, we should also consider emergency vehicles in the future as well.
Fire brigade, for example.
So they go through it, they went through it all.
So all I'm going to do is flag it up as an issue raised. So if somebody's have to second that. So
Yeah, Councillor Cox, please.
Second that.
Do abstain, courtesy.
That's 3 abstentions.
So,
No, I propose it. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 13. I think this will be Councillor Wiles talking to this report. This is renaming of the gallery as the Georgina Maddox Gallery.
Yeah, I mean, this has been on the agenda for some time. At the last council meeting, you generously agreed to restore the piano fully and move it up into the gallery. And I think the complement to that is renaming the gallery as the Georgina Maddox Gallery. It's almost 5 years since Georgina died, and I think it's been remiss of us not to have put in place any kind of memorial to her. And this, to me, seemed the obvious answer, because the piano, music was central to her life. The piano is the only real artefact we still have, and it's going into the Guildhall, which she so generously supported with a 3 million donation. So I don't really want to say too much more, but I'm happy to answer any questions or points.
Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we had this discussion, I think we had the discussion with the last meeting, and we mentioned it, and I'm more than happy to propose that all these recommendations go through that are on the
Okay,
sheet.
we'll do that in a second. I want to allow any comments, but I'll take your proposal in a second. Councillor.
I think this is a very good idea, and I'm delighted, but I also wonder, I mean, there's a whole collection of art up there, and I think at least one of them should be a photograph of Georgina. I mean, there should be some reference to her as a person, what she did for the town, her biography and so on.
So I think a plaque would certainly cover that in terms of talking about her, rather than just saying it's in memory of her.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. It's a really good
I think
point.
sorry, I just answer. I think I suggested it be delegated to myself, the mayor, and the property manager or town clerk, because I think it doesn't need just a plaque. It needs some kind of words
absolutely.
next to the door saying why it's called that.
Yeah. I think we should bring, whilst it might be delegated in terms of progressing it, still needs to come back to council to agree.
Sorry. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Anderson. As well as the actual name, Georgina Maddox, I think it'd be very preferential if we could have some sort of picture or photograph of her. There's perhaps a lot of people in the town that don't realise who she was or what she looked like at all. It'd be really nice to have a picture up there.
Yeah, if we can investigate options. I mean, potentially in a plaque you could even have her face carved into it, so it doesn't have to necessarily be a photograph.
No,
so
no,
we
no,
can
that's
look at options as part of it to make
good.
obstacles as well.
Thank you for that.
Did you have anything? No. So we had 3 recommendations. We will go through them one by one, but Councillor Marie has proposed all 3 of them. So I'm looking for a seconder on each of these. So the first is to rename the gallery, the Georgina Maddox Gallery with Collegiate Effect. Somebody have to second that. Councillor Anderson. Vote on that. That's unanimous. Thank you. To the longest one, to affix a suitable plaque or other form of signage above or next to the door. The details to be delegated to the property manager in consultation with Council of Wales, the mayor and the town clerk. But we'll caveating that we'll come back to the council to get approval. I'm happy to.
Well, I was going to say, is it really in the hallway? What's that in the actual room?
Well, that's exactly where I was going
Oh,
in terms of how this is written.
inside the room.
We'll look at options and come back with a proposal.
By the piano, just thought it'd be nice.
So, Councillor Rees proposed. Somebody have to second? Councillor Moorhouse, vote on that. And then finally, to hold a formal opening in the Georgina Maddox Gallery once restored, piano has been placed there. Councillor Rees, done it.
Second.
Councillor Deacon, vote on that. That's unanimous as well. Thank you
I
very
think
much.
at that opening we'll also have someone playing the piano
Of course.
for the future.
Okay. So moving on to agenda item 14, that's registering of the Georgina Maddox Charity with the Charities Commission. So we have a report from the Town Clerk highlighting changes to the Constitution that will allow the charity registration to be completed by the 22nd of May. So Town Clerk, would you like to just highlight anything?
I think it's very straightforward.
Yeah.
I think the wording that is changed is very minimal.
Yeah.
However, it needs to be done for the Charity Commission. It's up to, you know, if you're happy to accept it, then the registration can go through. I think the more pertinent part of the report really is the highlighting that we received, or the information that we received from the Charity Commission, highlighting the importance of having the guidance in place to support the Constitution, and there's a list, you know, that I precede the email: purposes, conflict of interest, financial controls, trusted duties and responsibilities, managing risks and making decisions. The categoric guidance from the Charity Commission is that the conflict of interest policy must be in place within 6 weeks of charity registration, so that is urgent. Yeah.
So do we have a proposed way forward in terms of, because we've obviously got Georgina Maddox Management Committee coming up, have we?
Yes, we do. Yep. So Girling's, I think, nudged that they would be very happy to advise on regulatory advice. So that's an option we could explore. I emailed, because we are working with Kent Georgina Maddox Fund, we'll be working with Kent Community Foundation. I actually took the initiative to email Sophie to say, is it included, this kind of advice, or could you advise? And I know that Councillor Green has drafted a draft conflict of interest, but I don't know where he got that from.
Okay. So he's absent now for 10 days, is that right? Okay, so we need to keep focus on this in terms of pushing it through to hit the deadline. Any other comments?
This has been going on long enough. We've been trying to get this charity set up for a long time, so I think, as most of us are here, I don't think it needs to go back to the Maddox Management Committee. I think we can make a decision now.
We can certainly on the first, but the problem is we have to produce some documentation that supports the charity. That's the point of what needs to be done, in addition to agreeing to the changes. Any other comments? If not, I'm happy to present the first recommendation.
Second.
Yeah. So I proposed it. Can I just say, I mean, it's really good news that, I should have said it before I went to that, really good news we've got through this challenge, because it has been challenging, and it's great that actually we got the right support from the right organisation second time around. We did feel not quite convinced on the first time that we got the right level of support.
With all due respect, Mr Mayor, I mean, we've not been through this before, so I'd like to pat everybody on the back for having patience and ability to get through this process. I think we've done very well of learning it the first time round, as it were.
Eventually. So, to approve the proposed constitutional changes as shown in the track documents, so the charity can be registered by the 22nd May. I propose that. Councillor Charter, please second it if you'd like to vote on that. Thank you very much. And the second recommendation, to consider regulatory guidance to be created, in particular the conflict of interest guidance. This is due to the short time frame to have this in place. We've mentioned 6 weeks from the 22nd of May. Girlings have indicated that they could advise on the regulatory guidance. So my suggestion is for you, we'll vote on this, but for you to engage with Councillor Breen when he returns to agree how best to take this forward. If the Maddox Committee is meeting on the 1st of June, that gives us enough time to then agree how we take it forward. So it might be with Girling support, or it might be with KCC as well. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of this recommendation, I'd like to propose that we need to have it in place, and that we should investigate whether Girlings are suitable to support us, but that will need to go to the Maddox Committee to agree.
Indeed.
Okay, somebody have to second that proposal? Vote on that. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I didn't get.
I proposed it.
And then
Councillor Peter.
Just for a minute.
Yes.
I set this committee next week. I think we keep hedging the thing about having a clerk for this new committee, don't we?
Not hedging, no we're not. No, we've got a job description
Yeah.
being
I think it's about time we start to take some work off of our clerk.
Yes, I agree.
I do worry about the amount of work additional work she's getting, which
Yeah.
is not really part of the.
Yeah.
I do appreciate how much she's doing as well. So yeah.
It's definitely not being hedged. But I'm sorry, I can't personally answer it directly, but Councillor Green has, as you know, has reduced a job description, so that will be.
Yeah, well, another thing is he called it.
I know.
But I said having a clerk.
Yeah. I think some of us agreed with administrators, some of us didn't, so that's fine.
Additional clerk.
We'll end up with results. Okay. Moving on to the final material item tonight, which is the printed tourism literature. That's received reports on strategy for printed tourism materials. I believe Councillor Black may be talking to this. Jointly, possibly?
Well, maybe 2 or 3 people want to say something about it. Certainly the town clerk there. She's got some other parts, and I think Councillor Maddox will also want to explain in some detail. Councillor Ripley, who has been doing a sterling job distributing the current brochure for some years now, will also be able to inform us. Well, the real question is, do we want any kind of brochure at all? People could just rely upon Google Maps, the Whitelist website, and the compass map. We don't think that's particularly useful, so we believe that we should have some kind of printed guide. The question then arises, what kind of guide? Do you want an old-style guide, which costs you a lot of money and gets out of date very rapidly, or do you want a completely different concept? And this is what the three of us, Councillor Harnet, Councillor Ripley, and myself, have been working on. We've developed a tailored, inexpensive document using existing information and technology. It will be owned by Sandwich Town Council. It uses the QR codes to direct people either to the White Cliffs website for a broad description of Sandwich and the surrounding area, and, this is the key one, a customised map that Councillor Mallet has been working on to allow people to look at the town in detail beforehand, and also when they're standing in front of a particular monument and so on, because it contains all the information that is on the notice boards that DDC paid for. We could, if we wished, add a third QR code for a full events listing. Why do we do it this way? Well, quite frankly, the budget. This year, the budget, councillors said we are very, very tight for funds, so we came up with a very cheap thing, which costs, will allow us to print 15,000 copies by the year end for about £2,700. Quite simple. That's why we did it. But also to bring us properly into the second quarter of the 21st century, because most people now are using smartphones. We have to recognise that. So, choice. Assuming that you decide you want some kind of brochure, do you want a paper guide? Well, you'll very rapidly run out of money. If you use our suggestion for the first one, and it's meant to be a dynamic project which can evolve, we can print up to 15,000 throughout the year. We're not proposing that immediately, we're at maybe 1,000 or 2,000, so we have a document available immediately, and that can be updated and modified. Or there was a third suggestion from Whitecliffs, which the town clerk managed to elaborate on, is pay a designer to revamp it for us. Then the final thing to do is look at the long-term strategy. Do you want to discuss a wider scheme here? Who do you want to discuss it with? Bear in mind you have no budget. You're going to reverse the decisions of reducing the area that is covered, because we made that decision 2 years ago to reduce the content. Remember the brochure about 2 years ago had places as far away as the golf courses and some of the wildlife parks. We took that out to cut costs. History, well, who's going to write it? And what history do you include? And how much do people really want to read in the first 5 minutes of visiting the town? I don't know. I have my views, but I don't know. And then, if you want to decide about what events you want to, and who should provide the events, do you use a private individual? Will Sandwich Town Council set up a website for events? They haven't so far. So these are all the questions, but I do recommend, or the three of us strongly recommend, that this third thing, which is the longer term future, is delegated to the Heritage and Townscape Committee. If you wish to set up a working group to deal with it, fine, but that I suggest should report to Heritage and Townscape and not be discussed here. Thank you.
Councillor Maddox?
Right, what I'd like to do is just run through the brochure itself, just very briefly. Basically, it's not just something thrown together. It does various things. The frontispiece says exactly what it is. It's a Sandwich Town guide. It indicates history, it indicates commercial, it indicates nature. It's roll fold, which being Sandwich is very appropriate, I think. Otherwise you have Z fold. On the back of it, without opening it, is a list of events. As you open it, you will see immediately it says a brief introduction to our town, and it indicates sites in town. You have a map. Now we have various things. Councillor Matt has mentioned QR codes. Now some of these I've done without the additional, so then if you could just turn yours around like that for a moment. No QR codes. Very, very simply, QR codes here, here, and here. So with this one, it would show Whitecliffs. It would show the timetable, the calendar that gentleman has created. So if we want to use that, it also shows, click here, I said click here, QR code here, which will take you straight to the main map. Now, and it all works, so if you were to take your phone and use the QR code, it will go to Google My Maps with every single information board that has been produced so far. I'm pretty certain they're all in the correct places. So you can click on that, which will then take you to a very short website, just very, very focused, which will have all the information that's on those notice boards, so you can read it. It's not tiny, tiny print. Very soon you'll be able to find that on Google search engines. In terms of cost, this is a halfpenny, whereas this, I believe, is about 60p, and the original one was £1. So you basically pick one of these up, you have a glance, oh yeah, quick QR, oh that's all I need, goes in the bin. Halfpenny in the bin, who cares? This, or the previous one, £1 in the bin, that's our money going in the bin. And I don't think we should have £60p of our money going in the bin just because it's free. In terms of going forward with this, we have seen that if we go back 2.5 years, with the new website that we were developing, one of the points I made, I was on the group developing it, I said we must have a complete calendar on it, not just Sandwich Town Council, but other things to make it worthwhile visiting. Because if it's just got Sandwich Town Council events on, people won't go to it. If it's got everything, it becomes a resource. It didn't happen. We have an individual who is doing it. There is a cost to him. I've looked at actually how he's done it, and there is a cost to him. He's paying money for that. In the same way as if we don't do something which could be very dynamic, we could have a version of this for the Heritage Open Day. We don't need to sort of say, you use this, and oh, by the way, we've got Heritage Open Day. This is the Heritage Open Day, with very, very focused. We could have Little Gardens of Sandwich, something of this nature, because at a halfpenny each, it's almost free. I would recommend for something like this, because of the cheapness, for example, Councillor Black was saying over £1,500 for
15,000.
15.
The budget was
15,000.
15,000.
15,000 would be £600.
In fact, the budget's a
For
bit
the
higher
whole
than
year.
that, because we base the budget on a penny a time.
Right, picnic time. So it's, to my mind, it's a very easy thing. It might well be that in 6 months' time the feedback comes back, we want something different. We can do it. We're not tied in. If we go down the designer route, we start getting tied into it. We can't change. Anyway, thank you very much.
Can I, before we open up to questions, can we really clarify the costings here? Because the report, if I read it, suggests to me for 2,790 you get 15,000. I've just heard 600,000. I am confused because 15,000 divide 2,790 divided by 15,000 works out at 1.18. So it's in the ballpark area that you're talking about in terms of individual costs. So please clarify what we're talking about here in terms of the expense.
No, we couldn't, because at the time, the town council wanted a ballpark figure, and we worked on some very rough figures before we did the far more detailed work. And that's where our 2,700 came from.
No, sorry, no. Sorry, all I'm saying is,
So 2,000.
if we're saying, so the report is built on 15,000 printed guides, okay? That's what it says to me. What is the cost of that?
I'm looking at 2,000. I haven't looked at 15,000. For 2,000, it is £106.
So multiply that up.
Yeah, carry on.
8 times
Carry on.
that.
Carry on. Sorry, I want to know how much it costs. It's not clear to me.
Sorry.
So if you could work that out, Simon, whilst we can maybe take some questions. So first of all, Councillor Ripley, since you're directly involved.
Yes, thank you. Well, I've been taking the town guides round, as everybody knows, along with Richard as well, for the last couple of years or more. I haven't been able to take any round to most of the places I would normally do because we just don't have them anymore. To say that most of them are taken from the Guildhall is not true. Tons of them go down from the quayside. Lauren at the River Runner often fills up the things down there for me. But virtually every other shop in the town and the restaurants and pubs take them. And I just haven't been able to take them any for months now. So to get something quickly, and we do need something quickly because obviously the tourist trade is picking up at this time of year. We need something that can be done quickly and cheaply, I would say. And also just as a matter of if possible, I'm going to start next month doing the Saturday market tourist information stall again. So anybody that wishes to put their name down to help.
That's a good bit again. That's a good bit.
Okay, so Councillor Lally, I think now what we're getting.
If we bought 15,000 in one go, £432.
Is everybody else the same with that? I am confused about costings, but if that's...
I just want to ask, we are talking about this leaflet.
Yes.
As it feels, as it
Oh.
looks.
No, this leaflet would be glossy.
Oh, it would be
It would
glossy.
be. This is just something.
Okay, sit down, you can stand up.
Sorry. This is just something I printed on just a standard bubble jet printer using the standard A4 sheets of paper. It is not intended to be the final version. The final version, you've seen the booklet for the 800 mayors, you've seen the various Z-fold leaflets that go up for the various events. It is of that quality, so we can have it. It would be slightly thicker, it would be glossy, and it would be folded precisely. This is me just folding it by hand.
So can you go back and just check your costing? Because if we were talking about 0.1 of a penny times 15,000, what that comes out to? If it's 432, that's brilliant, but I'm not convinced. But
I'm sorry, this is buying it all in one go, and I wouldn't recommend
No, I
that.
would not either. So sorry, I'm going to invite the town clerk because actually we've got a couple of options on the table that can be done at pace, and I don't think we've actually expressed enough around Whitecliffe's country offer. So, town clerk, what else would you like to say?
I had an interesting chat with Sam Stanley, who is the professional tourist officer who is, paid for by Dover Down Council, and she represents Sandwich, Deal and Dover. She works full time, and she obviously manages the Whitecliffe's website and also the Whitecliffe's events listings. She and I were talking about that, and the conversation just basically raised some issues that I just think need to be put to the council before you guys make decisions on this. The first was having printed events on the leaflet, because it then becomes out of date the moment it's printed, basically. I know that you're talking about regular reprints, but her suggestion was that a QR code or whatever that pointed to the Whitecliffe's resource of the events, and then that sort of out of dateness doesn't happen, and that perhaps her suggestion again was that local resource could be put in making sure that that resource is extremely well updated and thoroughly updated, like Councillor Mallet was suggesting, that everything was to go on that website, and we would point to that, and it was then managed by a professional person. So that was her main point. The other, personally, I have to be honest, I'm not sure about using an individual in the town who is not an officer or a councillor. I think that's sort of quite a vague position to put somebody in. It's open to pressure from many sides.
It's a potential single point of favour. And the final thing was Sam Stanley suggested that she offered the services of she went to ask them, and they were very kind and said that they would, that if we were to get copy to them, in about 2 weeks they could turn around a professionally designed leaflet. And the price she quoted was £105 plus VAT for 1,000 leaflets, so more, but professionally designed. Thank you. Councillor Carter has put his hand up, so we invite him. Councillor Carter, did you want to speak? I did see your hand go up, but you changed your mind.
I beg your pardon, no, we're just doing the calculations on the latest figures, thank you.
Thank you. Just briefly, firstly, I think this is about the right format. I think something which points people in the right direction is important. Secondly, I think the drafting really needs looking at. There are several places where it seems a bit less informative than it could be. Thirdly, I agree that putting events on kills a stone dead, in the sense that it very quickly becomes out of date, and the events can be provided in some other format, either on a website or an additional information sheet. And fourthly, just to thank the guys for the work that they've done. Thank you.
Councillor Miles?
Yeah, so I think, we're committed to climate change emergency. Producing the big booklet at 60 pence a time, which goes in the bin after single use, I think it is not a green approach. And I think with smartphones and QR codes and all this kind of thing, it makes sense to have some kind of leaflet, a much briefer document where people can connect to QR codes, etc. I think this is a great initiative, but I think it could be improved. So for me, I've shown this to Councillor Black and Councillor Mallet. This is the Rye leaflet, which is a W rather than a Z. It's A4 plus a bit, and it has a really, really good map which shows all the main buildings in the town. And I think for me, a visitor to the town, what's the main thing they want to know? They want to know, where am I, and where the buildings located from my position. So I think this map is really good because it shows the buildings, the history, and then it has 6 QR codes so you can link into events, you can link into history, restaurants, etc. So I think this, I mean, I have read through this, it does need some work, I think, to make it a more viable document.
Councillor Moorhouse.
Yes, with respect to Councillor Pennington's remarks on the events, we don't actually need to give specific dates. They normally fall on set weekends throughout the year. So we could actually just advertise the fact that Sandwich Festival takes part over August Bank Holiday weekend, the Folk and Ale the first weekend in July, the weekend, the second weekend in June. So there's no need to put specific dates. So it wouldn't go out of date in that respect if we were just to put vague dates as to when these events are held.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mayor. So every time an event management plan is put in place, there's a tick box, and there's 2 ticks on there. One is to say, will you allow Dover District Council to promote your event? Yes. And the other one is, for the Whitelist County Partnership, can they put it on their website? Yes. So I do feel that if we do put the events on the new programme or the new dart, it will take away from the websites. And then the broader horizon for the Whitelist County website is to promote the district. So that's my other thing. The other thing is I've been a coach driver for 8 years. There's 2 things people look for when they go into a town. The gentlemen look for pubs, and the ladies look for the shops every time. That's the first thing I get asked every time I drop someone off in a town, and I travel all over the UK. So that's the thing. And we have got some, as I said, historic pubs like the King's Arms. I do feel that they should be put in the programme as well.
Thank you. I'll go back to the originators. Councillor Ripley.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the town clerk, I didn't follow some of your argument about the private individual in the town. I didn't know who you're talking about or what relevance it has.
Do you want to talk about it, Councillor?
I can briefly. Certainly one girl has been approached by an individual who was trying to set up a very comprehensive events website. Some of you may know him. The issue though is if he does he's going down into the detail of sort of what's on St Mary's, when is it on St Mary's? So he would be using that all the time to get access to it. I'm not sure the argument holds water that we shouldn't use a private individual, because we're quite happy to distribute the compass map, and those are private individuals. They're not controlled by the town council. I don't think the argument holds water.
So I would come back on that, Councillor Baggett. The issue for me is actually the reverse of that, because actually the product, the compass map, is produced and it's given to us. What we're here, I think, suggesting is that we use a channel to one person who's creating and maintaining information. Having a channel creates a single point of failure. So you produce a leaflet, and that individual next week decides we're no longer going to maintain their information. You then have got a booklet that's been printed so that you haven't got access to information. That's what I see as a single point of failure is too great a risk for a town council.
You've got copyright, haven't they? You've got copyright.
Well, whether copyright or not, I'm just saying is going to a third party. So if you go to Dover District Council, Whitelist country, you know that the relationship you're going to get in terms of maintaining information. An individual who has got a great idea, who's putting a lot of effort into it, could tomorrow decide they're not going to do it anymore. And that could be the day after you've printed 1,000 or 2,000 leaflets. And you are giving access from that leaflet to that person's information. So that's the issue I see, which is not necessarily the issue that's articulated.
So can I just add to that, Mr Mayor? Sorry. So I know that I just realised who you're speaking about. However, there are some flaws within their thing as well, because there's permissions that they need to ask for regarding bits and pieces which they haven't asked, but they're still promoting it on the websites, etc. So that's another issue that I have with that.
I do take your point, and I do agree with regard to the individual, which was absolutely why 2 to 3 years ago I really pushed, and I hope you will remember, I raised this a number of times to say we must have our own events list. It never happened.
No.
We are now in a position exactly the same with this, where I think that if we go down the designer, professional, we're throwing in words here which I find they are critical, I find a little bit antagonistic, because it is saying a designer knows everything. A professional. I've dealt with architects. Oh boy, when you start to actually fight designers who know best. This isn't perfect. This is cheap. It's now, it's quick. The timetable at the back is so that it's not just for tourists, it's for people in Sandwich. They're paying for it. The common question that I get from people in Sandwich is, what is happening when? This solves it, this fixes it. You know, the guy who's setting it up on his own, he is filling in that space that we could have filled in ourselves. There's an awful lot more to say, but fundamentally, the key thing here is that QR code, which takes people to the website. In terms of the leaflet, quite honestly, it's picked up, it's looked at, goes in the bin, hate me, go on, who cares? This is what they use, this is what I use. I don't use these guides. I wouldn't use a guide to Hythe, to Lid, to whatever. I just wouldn't use it because I've got this. And all we're doing is saying, this is where to look, this is where to start looking. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I do so like this little bifold, trifold, whatever you want to call it, U shape. But it's just some of the wording. It's like item 3, across from the centre, head towards the Fisher Gate. And that bit, the last about, I would have put the bit about the Barbican there, because that's a Tudor gateway. And then just leave the toll bridge on its own. And then the map, just get rid of the taxi, because it's not a taxi officer. And perhaps there you can put the rampart. It's only a little thing, but I think it's really nice, Simon. Well done. Thank you. And where have you been involved with it?
Have we got any other comments? If not, we will attempt to go through the 3 recommendations. Any other comments? Well, can we bolt down this cost? Because I still cannot see how it's £432 to 15,000. But if I'm wrong, it's my last try at it.
We specifically put a budget in, and this is way below the budget. The reason we talked about the 2,000 is so that we get things moving. The 15,000 was to cover a whole year. There will be changes in this cost. We specifically put a very tight budget in at the request of the town council, right? And we're adhering to that. So I'm not quite sure why we're concentrating on one little aspect of it for the immediate short term. Yes, in the long term, I agree. But if you've got a budget, you don't spend all the money at once. We're not spending doing 15,000 of these. We're doing 2,000. And I think that we're concentrating on the wrong thing.
No,
we're looking at the halfpennies. We're not looking at the big picture.
No, so we have a budget agreed, 2,790.
Yes.
Okay. I've been told the cost of it is 0.1 pence per print. Okay. But if I multiply that up simply, it does not equate to £400 odd. It does not equate to £600. It does not equate to something else. I'm struggling with it's not words, it's numbers. So I want to know what the numbers are.
So the numbers basically, the more you buy, the less you pay per unit.
Yeah.
So that the 2,000, a print run of 2,000 is £106.
Okay.
A print run of 15,000 is £432. And there are various.
And we're not going to do 15,000, so let's leave that aside. So we're saying for 2,000, it is
£106.
Okay, that's all I need. Just want to give clarity in the room what we've been asked to do in terms of the first step of this. So that is one point, but we've got 3 recommendations here, so we need to go through. Yes.
Just a quick mention of the fact that this council has often stated that it wants to improve tourism in the town, and it seems to me that this is all a little bit hard going. It's a tourist information guide. We desperately need them. We haven't got any, and you know, we need them. We need these.
Appreciate that. And that's the first question, isn't it, as a recommendation? So if we can move to the recommendations, so the first is to resolve whether to go for a reprint of the brochure, and we can give an indication what the cost of that would be, or to reduce the brochure to a Z or trifold leaflet with immediate effect. So that's, somebody have to propose that?
I'll propose that.
Yeah, somebody have to second. Councillor Maddox, can we vote on that?
Sorry, what are we voting on?
You vote, yes, you go
To
to
resolve.
Z. To resolve, go to Z.
So the recommendation is to move from the original full brochure at 60p cost to replace it with a Z or trifold leaflet with immediate effect.
It says either or, so
Yes,
we're
it's
voting
not
on the
So
same.
going for the Z or trifold is the
The
recommendation.
recommendations aren't very clear.
No, I
That's a
don't
good point.
understand.
So what we're being asked to vote on is that we're going for a Z or trifold leaflet replacing the original booklet. And that's been proposed by Councillor Back and seconded by Councillor Maddox. Good vote on that.
So 2 abstentions.
Okay. So the second recommendation, if reducing it to a leaflet, which we've now agreed, then to decide to go ahead either with the current draft leaflet, Appendix 1, or to create a leaflet designed in conjunction with DDC Creative Services. So, if we can first of all ask whether somebody's willing to propose that we go with the current draft leaflet being put in front of us by Councillor Maddox.
So can I suggest draft leaflet, saying it is draft, it
Yep.
needs tidying.
Yes.
I propose that go with the draft leaflet.
Seconded, Councillor Ripley. We vote on that. One against, 2 abstentions, and the rest are in favour, so that's carried.
You're ready, no?
Yes,
Councillor
yeah,
White.
one against, yeah. And finally, if looking to a longer term and a more comprehensive approach in one document, STC to discuss and resolve on who to delegate authority to. So I'd like to propose that we do delegate it to H&T to take this forward in terms of developing a strategy, so we've got a longer term solution. Is somebody happy to second
Happy
that?
to second that.
Councillor, good vote on that? And that's unanimous.
When's the next meeting?
H&T, that's a good question.
Middle of June.
10.
End of June, thank you.
Yes, Councillor Morris.
I'll just make a point on this because I think in the report you made clear one of the cons of moving away from the brochure is that people in the town might say we're going away from quality to something simpler. So I think we need to sell the notion of why a leaflet is replacing the brochure, which traditionally we've always had, just to explain the the new technology and the new thinking.
So how do you think we should do that, Councillor Morris?
What about the parish magazine, Mr Mayor?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So I'd like to suggest that we include it in the next STC magazine. Would be good. We don't need to vote on that because that's a suggestion.
Between the 3 of us, we have to draft something like that.
That's good. Councillor Moorhouse.
Yeah, just for information, that brochure was a joint funding exercise with the Town Council and Chamber of Commerce.
That's good to know as well, and that should be included in any briefing.
The last one wasn't. The last one, the cut down one, was entirely at our expense. It was.
Yes, it was.
The very original one there, the very long and detailed one was. The last one 2 years ago that you've been distributing was entirely at our expense.
Funded by STC. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So the final item, agenda item 16, date of next council meeting, Monday the 22nd of June 2026 at 7 p.m. Meeting closed.